So in the case of Wellington Street, the beautiful pedestrian walkway it has turned into when it's closed down for the summer to traffic, it looks like success breeds greed, I think, more than anything else. Time Out called it the coolest street in the world. People started heading down there, which was great. But then, sadly, commercial real estate and the people developing it thought, hey, here's a chance to cash in. And I think I'm stating the facts pretty much directly that way. So suddenly what's happening is real estate values, commercial real estate values along that street are beginning to soar. Bigger people are moving in, forcing out the little guys, and it doesn't look like they're showing any signs of stopping.
This happens over and over again. A neighborhood becomes cool, it becomes gentrified, and then it becomes less cool.
I'm not sure how gentrified the neighborhood, though, here is, right? I mean,
the street.
Commercially.
But what I'm talking about is that what made it so charming and wonderful in the first place, then they can't afford to be there anymore, so they move to another neighborhood.
So Sterling Downey is the city councilor for Verdun. He's on the line. Sterling, thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
I know one of the requests here provincially from one of the parties, I guess, is that we begin a commercial registry. So the same idea as we would have a residential rent registry, we do one so people are trying to get into business will understand what rents were and then limit the amount they can go up. So I'm curious what you think of that idea. Is that even doable?
I mean, look, all options are on the table at this point to save these merchants and to make sure that they're protected. So I think that every stone should be turned and looked at and see what can work and what can't work. At this point, we have to do whatever we can to protect these people. Like Natasha said, I mean, these are the businesses who came in, who took a risk in Verdun before it was deemed cool, while it still had maybe its former reputation that still was trailing behind it. They invested. The rents were low. It was an opportunity. They didn't have to compete in other major arteries like Saint Laurent Boulevard or other places where rents were already high. They established their businesses. They established a clientele. They made it community-oriented. And now all of a sudden, exactly what was said, some people are seeing dollar signs in their eyes, getting greedy and saying, well, instead of having the Lido Cafe, why can't I bring in the Starbucks? We'll pay 3 times the amount.
Yeah.
But that's not what the community wants. This is not what we as citizens, as residents, this is not what we as elected officials want for our neighborhood and our borough. We want proximity businesses that are community businesses built by people who live and who have been born and raised in the community, or people who want to invest in the community because they care about the community, not people who want to come in with an opportunistic mentality and just capitalize on what's going on in Verdun.
This is what ruins streets. This is what ruins neighborhoods, right? But
Saint Laurent Boulevard, 1990, Saint Laurent Boulevard.
And even arguably Saint Denis, too, when back in the 90s when it was the club strip there. What can really be done about it? There is no rent control for commercial leases. What needs to be done here?
Well, I think the community needs to stand together and, continue to shop with the small businesses, support them, because already by supporting them and providing them with money, you're giving them the means to staff their businesses and to keep their businesses open. So being conscious in terms about what you're purchasing and where you're shopping, I think that people need to speak out and be very vocal about what they want. And then after that, I don't know. It's like I said, I think we all have to maybe stop. I've said this a while ago. Every time there was an article that came out where it said Verdun is now the coolest, or Wellington's the coolest street. I've always said in the media, but at whose expense? What does this mean? And cool for who? I'm born and raised there. I've lived there my whole life. I always knew Verdun was cool. The people that I grew up with there, we always knew Verdun was cool. All the veterans from the First World War and Second World War that were the highest volunteer amount of soldiers and airmen and seamen that went to war in both those wars per capita for all of Canada already knew Verdun was cool. We have enough of a history, Verdun, now because we have our beach, now because people have access to the water, to the river, now because Wellington Street is pedestrian and everything. Now all of a sudden people are throwing themselves at Verdun, and now people are seeing this as an opportunity and a gold rush. It's like the Wild Wild West. Yeah. It's starting to become really socially irresponsible rather than socially responsible.
I'm wondering with respect to what can be done to Natasha's question. First of all, how much can the city actually get involved in this? Even though you're a city councilor there, how much, could you actually get done here? Or how much of this has to happen in coordination with the province?
Listen, in all due transparency, I don't even have an answer to your question. I mean, all we can do is try to support people, support businesses, support citizens, speak out, be vocal, express what our vision is for our borough and our city and what we hear people telling us they want, working with our counterparts at the provincial level and making sure that the provincial level puts in legislation. I mean, they're the ones who are in charge of rental contracts and agreements, right? I mean, this is la Régie du Logement,
Right.
as we always talk about, du Québec, not de Montréal. Le Registre des Entreprises du Québec, not de Montréal. So the province here has a lot to say in this, but what skin do they have in the game? I don't know, and how far are they willing to go? I don't know. We have a premier now that lives in Verdun, lives on Nuns Island, so maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe the coolest street in the world will have, maybe we'll be able to work in conjunction with the provincial government to see what we can do. But clearly, you cannot just sign a lease for 5 years with somebody and offer it to them at $5,000, and then when it comes up time for renewal, that same coffee shop or something, all of a sudden now you're telling them it's $25,000 a month or lease. It's just not at all human.
No.
It's not at all responsible. And it's not okay. And on my watch, I will not accept this and not denounce it.
Sterling, I love it.
Yeah.
We're both nodding and just like cheering you on. As great as it is to see Verdun on the map and to get this international attention, in a way, it's been a curse.
And at the end of the day, if that's what happens and these major chains come in, the street will lose all its sort of feel, if you will, right? And people stop going there, and it'll go to become the uncoolest street.
Sterling's on it.
Look, we had Warshaw's become a Pharmaprix.
Right.
And then eventually we're going to have Grover, who's been on Wellington Street forever, become what? I don't know, a Starbucks?
A Gap.
Or a Gap. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, we'll keep an eye on this because at least there is some, there's some pushback, and that's what you need, I guess, at the beginning, and keep a close eye on this as it develops.
Well, and it's just great to hear how fired
Absolutely.
up Sterling is about it. So thank you so much for
Sterling,
your time,
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Sterling Downey, the city councilor for Verdun. You been down there lately, by the way?
I was there to go to Beba, which is, again, I think, a hot restaurant, but it's been a curse and a blessing at the same time.
Want to know the truth? I had to go down to a hardware store, whatever. I had to go down there on the weekend. I got to Wellington. I forgot it was closed, and I went, damn, and I had to go drive around because I forgot it was closed.
A blessing and a curse.
See?